Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming at you from a different place just because I wanted to try out something new, something different, so we'll see how it goes. But today's video is a book haul. I'm going to be hauling the books I have gotten either through the library, through the publisher, or bought for myself during March and April. So I'm going to divide this by first going into the books I hauled in March and first talk about the ones I bought for myself or received as gifts or got from the publisher, and then talk about the library books I got in March, and then I'll talk about the books again that I bought for myself or got from the publisher, etc. in April, and then talk about the library books I got in April. The first book I got in March was What's Mine and Yours by Naima Coster. I have no good way of explaining it. I think it has something to do with schools, children, teenagers in different kinds of schools, adapting something. I don't fully know. Mostly I got it because I have my Book of the Month subscription, and this one was by a Black author, sounded kind of interesting, so I was like, sure, I'll get it. So I don't know much, let's just move on. The next book I bought, also from Book of the Month, was Winter Counts by David Heska Wambley Waden. I have been looking forward to reading this book for quite a while now, so part of the reason why I restarted my Book of the Month subscription was precisely because I wanted to get this book and a couple of other books from Book of the Month. So that's why I got this. All I know is that this is either a mystery, thriller kind of thing, or maybe a crime mystery. I think there's like a vigilante character. It's by an indigenous author, has indigenous characters, so that's why I wanted it. The next book I got from the publisher, and that is Mina and the Undead by Amy McCaw. I have already reviewed this book, so I will link that up above in the card so that you can check it out. But it's essentially a mystery. It has vampires. It's all about our main character trying to figure out who is doing these murders that are like recreating old myths of New Orleans. The next book I also got from the publisher, and that is The Mirror Season by Anna Marie McLemore. As you all probably know as well, I have already reviewed this book. I absolutely loved it, adored it so much. Again, I will link it up in the cards above, my review for it. I actually got 2 copies from the publisher because I participated in a book tour and the first copy was late, and so they sent out another one, and then they essentially arrived like 2 days apart. So now I have 2 copies of The Mirror Season, and yes, I am considering hoarding them, even though I could like give them to a friend to just like convince them to read the book. I don't know, I'm still contemplating it. But essentially this is about 2 sexual assault survivors, and it's essentially about them trying to feel empowered again and like they are in control of their bodies. The next books I got I'm going to talk about as a whole chunk, and that is the Brown Sisters trilogy. I am obsessed with Talia Hibbert. Again, as all of you know, if you have been following me on this channel for any length of time, I'm almost always talking about Talia Hibbert. So I finally got these. I technically also got the audiobook of Act Your Age, Eve Brown, because I read all of these as audiobooks first, but since I loved all of them, I wanted to get physical copies. So I finally have them, and they're also signed. So that's neat. So yeah, really happy I got these. So worth it, and they're just so pretty together. Like, look at them. I didn't mention at all what these are, but basically they're romance novels. You know how it goes if you're a romance reader, and these are pretty popular on BookTube, so I don't feel like I have to explain it too much. All of them are wonderful, all of them are great, would highly recommend them. The next book I got was Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. I adore Angie Thomas. Angie Thomas writes excellent novels, so of course I had to get this. I didn't get it immediately when it came out, but still close enough, since I think this was a February release and I got it in March, so not too bad. Didn't take too long to pick this up, but still, this is a prequel to The Hate U Give. It follows Star's father, Maverick, and it is just a wonderful story. I really enjoyed following a novel where you have a father, a young teenage father, instead of a teenage mother that you're following. So that was neat. would highly recommend it, but it's not like all of y'all haven't heard about it already. The next book I got was Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. This is a Peter Pan retelling. I still haven't picked it up, but I really want to, because I really enjoyed Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, so I'm really excited to read this second novel that they published. And it just has the most beautiful cover. Like, this one and the Mirror season are just like so gorgeous. It's ridiculous. I'm obsessed. Anyway, I am excited to read this. I'm hoping to read it soon, but I keep again putting it off because my mood reader self has been all over the place. But hopefully it doesn't get by this summer, okay? This summer I have to read it, or else. I didn't explain it further because I feel like a Peter Pan retelling is more than enough information. I also got Hood Feminism by Mikki Kendall. This I got because my local Black-owned bookstore in Chicago, Semicolon, was hosting an event with the author, and I wanted to have access to the event, so I purchased the book. I had already read it. That's also part of why I wanted to go to the event, and it was really great. So totally happy I got this, and it's also signed. It also has the little signed book plate. Hopefully that's in frame. Regardless, happy I got this. It's nonfiction, all about intersectional feminism and whatnot. I also got The Shadowed Sun by N.K. Jemisin as an audiobook. This is the sequel to I can't remember the name of the first book. I read the first book. I'll probably put the cover here of the first book since I can't remember what it's called. But I got this as an audiobook because it's one of the books that is on my digital TBR that I haven't gotten around to. And since I managed to get around to the first one through an audiobook, I was like, okay, I'll get the audiobook of the second one. And technically I have already started it, and I kind of soft DNF'd it. I'm not planning to forever DNF it, but it just wasn't working for me. So I'll get back to it eventually. But it's essentially this world in which dreams play an important role, and people essentially like deal in dreams, and you can be healed through dreams. I'm explaining it abysmally, but I just don't know how to explain it. So regardless, it's N.K. Jemisin, so of course the first book was brilliant. I just struggled to get into the first one, and I'm struggling to get into the sequel, so I just need to try again later. I also got from the publisher 1500 Miles from the Sun by Johnny Garza Villa. I have no way of describing this book to you. I think all I know is like queer boys in the South, I think. That's all I have for you. I know that the cover looks cute, and I had seen the author on Twitter and they seem really cool, so I was like, okay, I definitely want access to the arc of this book, and I'm going to be reading it this month in May, very soon. Very hyped about it, but I don't know how to describe it. I also got from the publisher Gear Breakers by Zoe Hana Mikuta. This is another one that I don't know how to summarize well, but it's sapphic. I think it's a sci-fi, and that's all I needed to know, honestly. For this one, I'm going to be participating in a book tour, so obviously I'll have my shit far more together once it's closer to the book tour, which is in June. So like in this one, I'm just hinting at it. It's coming, but it's not happening quite yet. I also got The Dark That Dwells by Ryan Rudy and Matt Digman. I got this because I'm part of the Interstellar book club. I like reading their picks when they interest me, and this one got on sale just in time to read it for the book club, but I ended up not picking it up for the book club just because I really wasn't in a sci-fi fantasy mood, and that's essentially what that book is. So I don't know anything about it except for that it's a sci-fi fantasy, and I'm eventually going to get to it, you know, but I don't know exactly when that's going to be. But I did attend the Interstellar Book Club discussion of it, even the spoilers, because I really didn't care about the spoilers. And I do feel more prepared to read it now, so I probably will get around to it before the year ends. I also got The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. I got this one. I won it in a giveaway hosted by the Interstellar Book Club, so I wasn't still able to read this completely in time for the book club discussion, but I did finish it essentially a few short days afterwards, so I still watched the Interstellar Book Club discussion of the book, which I really enjoyed. This is the 4th book in the Wayfarer series. Honestly, I'm starting to sound like a fake fan because this is one of my favorite series and I am completely incomprehensible right now trying to talk about it. But the last book, really enjoyed it. It wasn't at all what I was expecting, but I think it still worked as the conclusion for this series. And of course, I annotated it, really enjoyed it. And yeah, it's just a soft sci-fi series, as I have mentioned before on this channel, or at least I have filmed myself quite a few times saying it, and the videos may not have been up, but I have mentioned it quite a few times, so I don't really feel like going into detail about this series anymore. The last book I got in March was Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier. This is a romance book. That's it. That's all I know. It's a romance book. It has a very cutesy cover. I had seen on Twitter quite some hype for it, so I was looking forward to it. I still haven't gotten around to reading it, but I am really excited to read it. I will probably get around to it once again I am more in my romance mood, which I have been in, but more in a different vibe of romance. So I will eventually get around to this, but I don't actually know anything of what it's about. It might involve a bakery, or maybe that's another one. I think it's a bakery. Listen, I don't have answers. Let me just move on to the books I got from the library in March. So the first book I got from the library in March was I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. I first checked this out as an audiobook from the library, did not like the narrator, so I ended up checking out the ebook. I was reading this as part of the BTS readathon, so that was the group book. I ended up not enjoying this almost at all, but not really. It's not really the fault of the book. It's a younger YA, and so I can imagine that for the actual age demographic it can be quite enjoyable, but I found it lukewarm. I am essentially looking forward to kind of low-key ranting about it in one of my recent reads videos, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. Regardless, it's one of the books I got from the library. The next book I got from the library was A Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. This is, I got it as an audiobook. Again, this one is because I had the ebook as part of my physical TBR, but I still hadn't gotten around to it, mostly because I really struggled with getting into it when I was reading it as an ebook. And then I picked up the audiobook and I still struggled to get into it, and at the end I managed to power through, but I kind of regretted it because it ended up being a 3 stars. Anyway, this is not a freaking recent reads, so this is just a fantasy book. It's a sapphic fantasy book. It's about this world where magic users are not really accepted, which is not explained well, and it's one of my issues with the series. Anyway, our protagonist, of course, is a magic user, and she falls in love with the sister of her betrothed, so that's the thing. The last book I checked out from the library in March was The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the sequel of The Poppy War. I did not get around to reading this, but of course you are all familiar with the Poppy War. It is a reimagining of the Second Sino-Japanese War, I think, and it has fantastical elements. It's very military. It's a lot about strategy and whatnot. Didn't get around to this one mostly because it's a long audiobook and I just wasn't feeling it. I keep postponing some of my series audiobooks because they're long and darker, and I'm not in the mood for that. But eventually I will get around to this because I do want to finish off the series. As for the books I got in April, the first one is Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. This is my book of the month pick for April. I got it because it's like a light mystery book. What's they're called? Cozy mystery. It's a cozy mystery. The protagonist is accused of poisoning her ex-boyfriend, but she didn't do it, and it's all about that. And also I myself was confused, and I have seen other people be confused. This is not with Latinx characters. This has Filipino protagonists and written by a Filipino author, so just letting y'all know of that. The next book I got was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I loved this book. I will link up above my review of it. It was one of my favorites of 2020. I just adored this horror novel, and it's essentially about this woman who gets a call from her cousin who is living in this house that she thinks is very strange and very bizarre. And so our protagonist goes to check that out to see what's going on in this spooky house. The next book I got was Drag Me Up by R.M. Virtues. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. I'm actually currently in the process of reading this. It has been a slow process, even though it's a romance book. But I have been enjoying it. It took me a while to get into it because it's a little bit too name droppy of a bunch of Greek gods that don't really play a major role in the story. So that has been kind of a bummer, but the actual relationship between Hades and Persephone has been fun. And this came recommended to me from Johari's. So I will also link down below her channel. She has great content. Really love watching her videos, and she has the greatest romance recommendations. So truly, if you love reading romance, you can go check out her channel. And then I got quite a few books from Milsey Adams because she had a birthday special. Essentially, she had 4 books of hers for free, so that's why I got them. And also because Johari's loves Milsey Adams, so I was like, okay, fine, I have to check her out. And I did read one of them, which is Love Scammed, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun time, so I was like, sure, I can get the other books of hers for free. And those were Go Deep, Birthday Shot, The Gift, and then Love Scammed. So I'm not going to go into what each of those is because I don't actually know. I just know they're romances. I think one of them is about a pregnant woman whose husband died, and she either falls in love with the brother of her husband or her husband's best friend. I think it's one of those, something like that. But the other ones, I really don't know what they're about. Love Scammed is essentially that the protagonist sets up on a blind date, but it's like a blind vacation because her friend sends her on a trip, and it's all actually to get her to meet this guy that her friend has been trying to set her up with for ages. So that's what those are about. And those are the last of the books I got in April. As for the library books I checked out in April, I got The Future Home of the Living God by Louise Erdrich. This is a dystopian novel where essentially animals and humans are struggling to procreate, and we follow a woman who is pregnant. And so we follow her as she tries to survive this pregnancy while not being captured by the government, who is trying to essentially amass all women capable of giving birth, or all people capable of giving birth. So that's essentially the story. It wasn't my favorite, but I'll talk more about that eventually in a video. I would still recommend it though because it's really well written. I just wasn't vibing with the audiobook. Even though it's narrated by the author, I kind of didn't like the narration by the author, so that was the main thing that took me out of the story. Regardless, it's one of the books I checked out. I also checked out Split Tooth by Tanya Tagaq. I also got this as an audiobook, and this I checked out mostly from Kayla from Books and Lala's recommendation. Obviously not a direct recommendation, as if Books and Lala even knows I exist, but just from watching her content, I know that she really enjoyed this book. So I finally checked it out from the library and finally got the ebook, and I definitely understand why this book was so impactful for her, because it was really good. There's really no good way to describe it. It's about this Inuit young woman growing up and dealing with sexual assault and all these very different things, traumatic things, and also getting pregnant. It's written in a combination of poems and prose. It's not really linear in the most... It's kind of linear, but it's also kind of not. It's more stream of consciousness, like you're kind of just taking looks into the life of this protagonist. You're not really following her life clearly, but it's really good. And I wasn't anticipating that the audiobook had some of the Inuit throat singing that the author does. She is actually known for that, and then she wrote this. So I was not anticipating that, so that kind of freaked me out the first time I heard it. Actually, the first few times I heard it, but eventually it really worked and just enhanced the whole mood of this book, so I would recommend listening to it as an audiobook while reading it physically. And then I also got volume 1 and 2 of The Way of the House Husband by Kosuke Onu. This is the second volume. I already returned the first volume to the library because someone else had a hold on it, so I didn't want to be late in returning it. But this is essentially about ex-Yakuza living now his life as a house husband. And it's kind of hilarious, kind of chaotic as hell, kind of a mess, but I really enjoy it. I think it's fun. So I'm excited to read this sequel. Again, obviously, since I returned the first one to the library, I already read it. So yeah. Finally, the last book I got from the library was Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lo. I have not read this yet, so I don't really know too well what it's about, but it's sapphic, it's historical fiction. It has, I'm pretty confident, Asian characters, probably Chinese characters, but don't quote me on that. I just know that it has Asian rep because it's an Asian author. Again, don't know anything about this because all I heard was Asian rep, sapphic rep, and I was like, I'm there. And so I'm planning to read this in May. I'm really looking forward to it. I need it. I really hope I love this. So yeah, that's it for my book haul. Looking at this stack of books, I'm kind of like, I really need to chill, but regardless, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.